I can't believe I'm the one having technical difficulties.
How you doing, Bob?
Good morning, Dad. Look, come see your grandpappy. Come see your pappy. Look who's here with me.
Oh, wow.
Mr.
Bojangles.
Mr. Bojangles. He's named Bo after my dad's high school nickname. Why did you get called Bo in high school?
You know, my dad just started calling me Bo. And then, obviously, then people started making it Bo Ray. And so some people call me Bo and some people call me Bo Ray.
And so is that why my Uncle Kevin's called Kibo? You were Bo and Kibo?
Yeah, that's Kibo. Matter of fact, you can see Kibo on the wall. See his picture up there, the black and white photograph?
My favorite Kibo story is right after Pappy passed away. Kibo came to my concert because I had a tour going on, which was really hard at that time. Remember, we were actually, today is the 14-year anniversary of Hannah Montana premiering. And you and I are doing this today.
And it smells so lemony fresh everywhere. Remember that episode we had about, oh, it smells so lemony fresh.
Sweet niblets.
Let's sweeten it. There's sanitizer everywhere. And we're definitely,
so lemony fresh.
We are displaying social distancing to the max. We're about 1,800 miles away.
We are overachievers. That's the Cyrus family way.
Here we are, and I love the show. I watch every episode. It's so good. I learn from it. I did hear a few cuss words. Mother had the sharp tongue today, didn't she?
Mother always does. But I was going to tell you my favorite story about Uncle Kibo is when I wrote the song called I Miss You about Pappy. And he came to my concert, and we gave him very front row so Uncle Kibo could see the entire thing. And he showed up in overalls with no shirt underneath, button real low.
Yeah, that's my brother. Uncle Mick's over here right now in the exact same thing.
You got it under your costume. And yelling, "Sing it to me, baby!" So loud that over 14,000 kids, I could just hear Uncle Kibo over all the children's voices. I could hear Kibo the entire time. But our family has always been really close. I was saying this is kind of the like farthest and longest we've kind of taken, you know, being apart in a long time, especially like you and Mama live so close. When I'm in Nashville, our farms are so close. And so I was talking about, you know, with social distancing, how hard that is, even when it has to involve your family. And so I was doing this motivationals with Mom this morning. And now I want to do a segment on my show called Devotionals by Dad. And somehow you just always know what to say in the time of crisis. And sometimes it can be a lot, and sometimes it's just something super simple that's easy and digestible that I can kind of play in my head as a mantra. So I remember calling you the night that really we started kind of understanding the seriousness of COVID-19. I started hearing a lot of rumors that were very, very scary, and started hearing more about the lockdown. And I started right-minded the next day because I called you and I was crying in fear and I had some dilemmas. And you told me that whatever choice I made, that was my path and that was okay with you. And I know many of the kids watching right now, they look for reassurance in their parents. And so by you just saying, "Sissy, wherever you go, there you are." That was very true, physically and spiritually. And just somehow that made me feel better. And besides, the more you stomp and shit, the more it stinks. What other words of wisdom do you have? And were these like sayings that I now always can pull out and use? Are a lot of those inherited from Pappy? Did he make these up?
I don't know where he came up with the wisdom, but he was a very wise man. And in his wisdom, one time he said to me something that I feel like maybe I should say now.
Yeah.
The only thing I do know is I really don't know a whole lot. There's so much I don't know. And this is a time period in all of our lives where there seems to be more questions than answers. But a couple weeks ago, I was going to the studio and there was a church sign. and the church sign kind of stopped me in my tracks. I jumped out and took a picture of it, and the sign read, "Faith is a verb." And on this given day, I think that that's something that we could all take to heart. Faith is a verb. It's an action word. It's something that you have and you act upon it. It's an action word. And even though in this time right now where there are so many questions, trust me, I bet you I got up 3 or 4 times last night and just walked around the house in the darkness, and my mind will start spinning, and I'm thinking about so many people that have things a whole lot worse off than I have. And sometimes I feel a bit guilty that I might be worried so much or having such high anxiety when others maybe have things a whole lot tougher than I do. And in that moment last night, I said, just remember, Cyrus, faith is a verb, man. You got to have faith. You got to pull yourself together right now. And you got to be whatever it is you were put on this earth to be in this moment. You may have seen that here in Tennessee, I know you know about the destruction we had from the tornadoes a couple of weeks ago. Well, we're back under tornado watch again today. As a matter of fact, this moment that I speak to you in right now, we're in between storms. Well, in a whole lot of ways, us as a society and all of the world, we're in between storms.
Yeah.
And in that moment of the storm is the best time to dig deep and find that faith and rely upon it. And I'm trying to do that.
I was reading some astrology last night, and I can't remember exactly kind of all the degrees of which everything is in right now cosmically, but I was actually reading that where the moon and the cosmos are aligning, this hasn't been in this alignment since like 1500s. And we're actually in a shift of like a 2,000 year cycle. Apparently we're going into a new cycle of the next 2,000 years. It actually said that it started in 2012, which I definitely felt that cycle begin at that time. I don't know if you can really remember exactly 2012, but it was when, we had kind of just ended Hannah Montana, which is funny that now we're kind of celebrating the beginning, but we had just ended. And you and I didn't know what to really do with my life or my time, because our schedules for 8 years were so filled. Every morning, same schedule, same ritual, 8 a.m. We knew we'd wrap at 6 p.m. We knew what our life was. And that's what I think a lot of the worry, anxiety, and fear is happening for so many people around the globe right now, is because, some days we don't love to get up for work. Some days are harder than others, but it gives us a structure. It gives us an idea that we know what we're going to do today because it's routine. And so when you lose that routine, you can feel like you don't even know what to do with yourself, or feel like, for me, I didn't know my worth, because so much of my worth and value was wrapped up in a character that I got to go and be 5 days a week, and kids would enjoy, every night at home. But then I felt like I had less value because I wasn't contributing to that anymore. But apparently since, 2012 until now, and then actually it said that early on in January, I think they said January 12th was when this shift really locked in that we haven't had in, thousands of years. And
well, I happen to be a
Oh, it's stopping. Hold on. Oh, I got you. Yep.
Okay.
I want to know, did you feel that shift? Do you feel it now that you're so intuitive? Do you feel a shift and a change and a cleanse?
I feel a lot of things right now, and I do feel a great deal of anxiety. I feel a great deal of sadness, pain, suffering, but yet on the flip side of that, faith is a verb. I know that what we all have to do as human beings and individually, just speaking to an individual out there, listen to me. Thoughts are things. No matter what religion you study or what psychology you study, they all agree, philosophers, biblical, everyone agrees that everything in your world begins in your mind.
Yes.
And as a man thinketh in his heart and in his soul, so is he. Or Thomas Edison might say, what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. Both of those philosophies say the same thing. Your thoughts are seeds. And so what each of us wants to do right now, no matter what's going on in this crazy world, you think about what your goals are. You think about what your dreams are. You think about what your purpose is. And then you plant that seed in your mind and you chart a path and you take steps. Remember that success is the progressive realization of worthy ideas or goals, not necessarily the attainment of it. Because let me tell you, when you get to the top, there's only one way to go, and that's down. So the fun part, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, all the greats that had said this to me at one time or another, that the fun part is the climb. You sang about it. The climb is the fun part. Once you get to the top, there's nowhere else to go but down. So enjoy the dream and know that failure is the most important ingredient for success.
I know the next part. By eliminating one way that one won't work, you're one step closer to the way that will.
You got it. That's amazing. That is
I told
amazing.
you I listened. These are all things that I can remember. And
you
when
know
I
what?
feel like I failed, I remember, well, now I know what not to do next time. I can't wait to try again because I know what not to do. So I am closer to the way that I will get what I am striving for.
Failure is the most important ingredient for success. Now, once you clarify what you've done, then you've eliminated one way that won't work, and then you regroup. Remember, life is a series of adjustments. It's exactly like trying to park your car in a parking space in a crowded downtown city. You find a parking space, you claim it as yours, you clarify in your mind, I'm going to back into the space, and then you start backing up. And then you might have to pull forward. Then you might have to cut to the wheel to the left or the right, or go forward or backwards. But if you stay focused, barring an unforeseen catastrophe, you'll get your vehicle in a series of adjustments. Life is the exact same way. Persistence is the key. Persistence is not a very glorified word. It's not like glory. It's not like faith. Persistence is, a bunch of syllables and they're all jabbled up. But remember, persistence, it's not the force of a jackhammer that breaks the concrete. It's the repetition. Bam, 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 bam. Be a jackhammer. You keep on keeping on even when the doors are closed. You keep on knocking. And if nobody opens it, eventually you have to kick it down.
Dad, you are the best. I'm going to remember that so much about the jackhammer, because sometimes I feel like you can try too hard where you lose the fun and the passion of it. When you start making music with the idea, I've actually had this, I know you've had this in your career too. I've had people tell me, you got to go in the studio and write one more song, complete this album, and it's going to be the go into a studio writing your biggest song. Look, it's laughable. It's fun.
You do not know how many times I've heard one more song. I've heard 10 more songs. I've heard start over. I've heard erase the whole thing. I mean, like, hey, but you know what? Here's the key. You make your music or you do your art for the love of it. That's the whole thing. You do it because that's what your passion is. Art is art. It can be seen as different ways. You do what you do because you love it. If somebody likes it, that's great. But you do it because you love it.
One more song will never end. It will continue. And so when you feel like you've told the story that you want to tell in that book, there's sagas. Your music and your album are sagas. So you can have, one album that tells a story as this first chapter. I mean, some of our favorite books, like whether it's Twilight or Hunger Games or whatever it is, there's like 10 of them to tell one story. And that's what an album is. That's why you put out these records, where you can tell your stories in chapters of your life.
Can I tell you one thing? This is so embarrassing. I've never told this before, but I'm going to tell it now because I think it's so important.
Yeah.
Do you know I've only read one book in my whole life?
And the IBLE?
No, It's not. I wish it was, and that's the book that I need to read. You know, if my BI, and it's called Think and Grow Rich by Earl Nightingale, of setting and achieving your goals. They wanted to know, how do some people chart a course and say, I'm going to get from this continent all the way across this ocean to that other continent, to the other side. While some people can do that, other people's just go out into the sea and vacillate from one side to another, and the storms come, and pretty soon the waves overtake the ship and they all drown. And this book, Think and Grow Rich, a chiropractor in Flatwoods, Kentucky named Dr. H.B. Bailey stopped me as an 18-year-old kid. Actually, I stopped him. His car was on the side of the road, and I was late for work at Greenbow Lake State Park, and something told me to stop. I thought that the old boy was having car problems. I stopped. I said, "You okay, sir?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I was just admiring this cattle." And then he said, "Are you Billy Ray Cyrus, Preacher Cyrus's grandson?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And we talked a little bit, and he said, "You know, you strike me as, how would you like to know the secret to be, have, or do anything you ever wanted to be in your life?" Well, at that time, I wanted to be Johnny Bench. Ironically, my hair was such a mess, I threw on this Cincinnati Reds ball cap to come down here and talk with you today, which I never planned on telling the story. So in some ways, maybe this is my full circle moment of being a Cincinnati Red and being Johnny Bench. But when Dr. Bailey said that to me, because I'd never had anything in my life, I'd never had any money, never had any success of anything, I think I was voted in our senior yearbook most likely to fail. I mean, I honestly, it was terrible. I'm embarrassed to say it. Again, I had never read a book by the time I graduated. I don't even know how I graduated. I can't write. The only thing I can write is my name. I have to print. You've seen that. But somewhere when this man said to me, how would you like to be able to know that whatever you think, you can do? And that turned me on. And he told me that he set up an appointment at his chiropractor office, and I came in, and him and his wife handed me a book called Think and Grow Rich. And I didn't just read it, I memorized it page by page. And I would just sit and just memorize the philosophy. And again, a lot of it came from the Bible. A lot of it came from Thomas Edison. A lot of it came from great thinkers who had really figured out what life is. And it is that what you think in your mind are the seeds to what will manifest in your life. And that's my gift to everyone today. If somehow you can find that book, I highly advise not only reading it, but apply it. A good idea is only as good as its execution.
Dad, thank you so much for being on the show. I see so many people writing how much this is helping them, that they've been taking notes, that they're writing everything you're saying down. Actually, someone just said, I'm starting a fan account for this iconic dad. And then someone wrote, you don't need books. You are the book. You are the knowledge. I stand Billy Ray. So everyone is like writing down how much this meant to them. That's why I wanted to have you on the show. I mean, I inherited bright-minded, but, you know, a healthy amount of optimism and reality. And, you know, also when you know that things aren't just going to get magically better, you have to do something to make things get better. So go out and clean your beaches, pick up the trash, you know, think about, you know, how you're going to be accumulating products, whether it comes to not seeing plastic in the ocean, you know, living responsibly and living with the idea that Mother Nature takes care of us. We have to take care of her. I think obviously if we could see one bright side of the devastation of this coronavirus right now is the videos that we're seeing of fish and dolphins back in Venice. We're seeing bluer skies. I mean, Mother Nature got a little sense of relief because for one time the humans, you know, we're not just vomiting all of our what we got to do onto her. The amount of flights that we take, you know, trips that we take in our car daily to get to work. Mother Nature is getting to rest a little bit. And my respect for her and for everything that she, you know, just kind of offers us for nothing in return. And actually, we've been spending so much, you know, humanity has abused her in so many ways. And so just having you on the show, getting to talk about life and perspective, but also, you know, like you said, you didn't just take the book. Taking the book wouldn't have gotten you to where you are. You had to read the book and you had to memorize it and apply it. And so applying the things that we learn without application, then you don't even need the information at all. It's useless to us. And so I think just for my fans to be able to apply what you said today, we loved having you on the show. Thank you so much, Dad. Thank you for being my dad. You've been the best dad ever. And thank you for giving me all these words of wisdom. I love you so much.
Don't make me cry. But you did mention Hannah Montana, and 14 years ago, I think we started that. Now, I'll leave you with a little pappyism, you know.
Please do.
My dad said to me, when my dad said, oddly, we just lost a legend, Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
And what a great man. And but my dad said to me one time, he said, son, he said, you're making all these records, but you're living and dying by radio, whether they play your song or not, or whether I can find your album at the record store. Remember when there used to be record stores?
Yeah.
It was called the record business.
Sign all of them.
Yeah, I know. So he said, I think you need to have a career like Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. And I said, well, I'd love that, Dad, but how do you do that? And he said, you got to branch out into acting. And I go, Dad, you know, I've never even been in a church play. I've never acted anything in my life. And he said, son, he said, I'm sure it's just like anything else. You just got to start. And sometimes when you look at your dream, it may look overwhelming, or it may look like impossible. When you write something down, clarified, you give it life. When you write down, I am going to be an actor, you give it life. When you go and take an acting lesson, or when you go to an audition and fail, you go and get hired. It doesn't matter. You start. Starting is the most important part of really, once you clarified your goal, just start. You'll find your way down the path. Now, that being said, I got to leave you with one person who told me to tell you hello, and Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
How many times have we been entertained? That's a great one. How many times have we been entertained, laughed? And Tyler Perry has become my friend, and he so wanted to tell you hi. And he has this thing going around right now, and I was wondering if by chance you might join me in one little course of this, and maybe everyone could sing along with us. It's something you used to sing a whole lot as a little girl. So I'll start singing it, and if you feel like joining in, feel free. But it goes something like this. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 And then you used to sing, he's got Brandy and Trace in his hands. He's got Brandy and Trace. In his hands, he's got Brandy and Trace. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. Hey, thank you everybody for joining us. Follow your dreams, live life to the fullest, be happy, and hopefully I'll see you here again. This has been a lot of fun.
I love you, Dad.
I learned more than anyone else learned. I love being here with you.
I love you, Dad. Thank you so much.
I love you.
I'm gonna call Noah now.
Look for me on the ball field. I'm going out for the Reds next year.
Love you,
I've clarified
Dad.
in my mind I'm going to be the first 59-year-old catcher ever to be drafted.
Well, as he thinketh, shall he do it. Bye, Dad.
I love you.
Okay, it is time to get on Chase. It is time to get on with Noah right now. She should be the easiest. She's Gen Z. They know how to do this thing, but I am not. So let me patch in Noah.